the second time, as you so eloquently stated, Brent, before we started recording, Georgia's defense gave Texas a whole lot of problems. We're here to show you what that looks like. Brent Rollins, Dayne Young, filmed it live from UGAsports.com. And this segment brought to you by Oconee Gold Barbecue Sauce. We start early in this game, second play of the game on offense for Texas. Michael Williams getting a little action here with a tip ball.
His length is unreal, and 74, by the way, did not have a good game playing at left tackle for them in place of Banks. I will say, as he was running across there, I thought this was going to be like a Georgia Tech play where everything was bottled up in one spot, and then he comes out the backside, and it's just like this huge play. And I thought it was just going to be deja vu because, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 of the 11 guys are right there around him.
You can tell that's a basketball. That's a go get a rebound.
Yes. And luckily you got the shoestring tackle, and then you thought it was a fumble, but it was clearly an incomplete pass. But so what's interesting about this though is the personnel, because of the personnel here. So let's see. Pause it when the ball's at the snap first. So you see two tight ends. So Georgia early in this game, when Texas went two tight ends, Georgia went into base personnel. So you had Chaz, Munden, Jalen Walker, C.J. Allen, or Raylan Wilson in the game. This is the same play that the touchdown is. Same exact play. Just because the personnel is different. Like see Munden, like you'll see Munden coming in as the ball's like right there. You see Munden. So you had two guys out there, and Munden was kind of the press guy at the front of that. It's not the case later, and that's where they get Georgia on the touchdown later. But yeah, still yet incomplete pass. And then they got a big play on third down right after that. Like they targeted, by the way, on the third down play, they targeted Starks, and they did and Harris, that combo, much like Georgia Tech did, and rubbed off each other, got that guy open for a big play. And then they said, all right, let's get back to hunting number 7.
It felt very obvious that they were going after Harris.
Glaringly obvious. And what's amazing is looking back, like rewatching, I thought it was more. He was only targeted 7 times. Daylen Everett was actually targeted 9. I thought 7 was hunted like the entire game. And I think they tried. And in certain instances, like, for example, Daylen Everett's first interception, I think they thought 7 was going to be the guy on him, but it just didn't work out that way.
Let me show a little. I know you're going to share this over Orange Bloods, our rivals Texas site. Matthew Golden is so good.
Balled out.
So freaking good. And this Texas group of receivers, I have my things that I've said about Quinn Ewers and how he's played against Georgia specifically. But between Golden and Wingo, and that's even before you get to Bond and running backs that can catch and some good like this Texas group of skill guys, they can cause you so many problems. And so it's such a compliment to Georgia's defense to be able to kind of have managed this in 2 games against this team without giving up a lot of points. Because I'm telling you that Golden and Wingo specifically, I think, are guys that can score in any play.
Yeah, and Wingo's going to be a first-round pick in 2 years. I think he's that good.
So they're picking on Harris a little bit. Here's one of those toward Daylen Everett.
Yeah, so you get the late switch off. And I wonder if they thought, okay, we're going to get 7 to go outside and work outside, but he pushes off to Daylen. And so you're getting, so pause it at the snap, boom, you're now in man-to-man cross. You got 2 deep safeties, man across. And, we talked about the sort of odd mirror defense where they'd bring 3 and have the spy kind of work the pressure and then let Walker go be an athlete. Well, here they bring 5. Hey, we're going to change it up early in this game versus what we did in the previous game a lot. And the pass pro to me is a little interesting choice-wise from Texas. I don't know why they didn't just go sort of 5-0 with the lineman blocking all the 5 threats that were there, but they slide to the right. And because they slide to the right, the back now picks up the backer, and then Georgia works a perfect game onto that new left tackle, and Michael comes around, and Ewers feels it, and he feels it in a hurry, and because of that, the ball he throws off his back foot, and the ball just floats.
But
Kirby,
Bond probably should still catch that.
I mean, just it's maybe a little bit. I don't think he was ready for it quite yet, but the ball bounced up in a weird way. I thought it was going well out of bounds. Kirby's like, oh yeah. I mean, he was kind of calm for that. But I do wonder why they rotated like that from an offensive line perspective, because if that's Banks one-on-one on the backside and he's playing fine, it might be because they're just shifting towards Jalen Walker after the game that Jalen Walker had the previous time. I'm not really quite sure on that, but I will say this is a funny story in terms of Brent being at the game for the first time in a long time. The instinctual coach in me saw the ball, was like, oh, wow, like, and was a little loud. And, obviously in the press box, you got to stay. Mm-hmm. And Dash was sitting right beside me.
Oh, did you break decorum?
I was just like, oh, wow. And because it was shocking that the ball was there, and Dash was, doing that. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Dash Instincts. Now the dean of Georgia beat writers at this point.
That's right.
So you may have gotten
instincts took over there just seeing the ball, because it's one of those things. Because I just, when I'm watching, I'm like, oh, it's going out of bounds.
And see, I know you. That's not that Georgia got an interception. That's just you loving football.
Yes, because oftentimes, I mean, even if it's the opponent, I'm just going to yell ball when I see it. Just habitual. But anyway, big play there early. After Texas had gotten a big play to get down there.
We had talked about Golden, and you had talked about how they were picking on or trying to attack Malachi Stark some.
And then also Everett too. And here you get sort of a straight cover two from Georgia, maybe because of the way Everett was playing. You don't see Everett on the other side, but this could have been just a house call. And luckily for Georgia, it wasn't, because a couple of things. One, so at the late motion, watch Harris shift out with the late motion. He's the sort of cover two front corner. And right here, see where his eyes are? He has no realization that the receiver is out there and just running a go by him. No redirection, no hand on him, no contact, no whatever. And you can see Golden just like running right behind him, right? A little bit further there. Boom. And so because of that, Golden had just free release to go, and Quinn throws it in a great spot. But if Malachi Starks does not, like, if he goes like full out dives for this, he's on the ground, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
But he luckily, it's like, okay, I'm not going to get it. I'm going to stay on my feet and go make a tackle. So humongous play from them. Again, 3rd and 13. Because by the way, why was it 3rd and 13? Because they couldn't run the ball at all. Again, no. Story of the game.
Weekend. And that's after Wisner against Texas A&M was amazing.
Yeah, consecutive games. He had over 135 in consecutive games, I think it was.
Got to show some love to Chaz Chambliss, because, man, he was throwing his body at everybody in this game.
Chaz, greater than tight end sign. That's just a win quick. And by the way, coverage on the back end. And this is one of the things that Texas does in its play action game, because you turn and then you're in the pistol, and the timing that it takes, it gives edge rushers, it gives rushers extra time to get to you. And when you only run 3-man route, 2 to 3-man routes, and if you aren't in a man-to-man situation and you can play coverage, you're going to, and you don't get lost. Because by the way, that was one thing Georgia didn't really at all in this game, get lost. There was a couple times where Texas definitively was attacking the 15 to 20 yard area in front of the safety, behind the linebacker kind of deal. But here it's just boom. And then, by the way, when you see good,
are you going to CJ Allen? Are you doing it?
No, actually, wasn't. But good job by him recognizing and then destroying the umpire.
Got a tackle out of that one.
Who shouldn't be there, by the way. Like just the way the way
I
the
thought
game
we were
is.
going to acknowledge the same thing. I got so excited that I thought you were seeing the same thing I saw of CJ Allen trying to cover and making a tackle.
But I was mainly going to say, if you look at pass block grades and like PFF, people always want to rip on PFF grades and things like that. Texas's pass block grades, other than 54, were actually pretty solid. 60, the left tackle wasn't the greatest, center wasn't the greatest, but they were at least above average. But a lot of times, just pressures aren't on the offensive line. Like this is straight up the tight end.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that was Chaz's sack. Now we get
So now we're into the second half
back to
and
7.
back to attacking 7. And and I think they realized, hey, in a man-to-man situation, Golden is going to be on Daniel Harris is going to be on Golden. And you can't see it in this, but Bond motioned out to create that space and then just go attack.
Perfect throw.
Harris did have one pass breakup, but outside of that, it was 5 receptions on 7 targets for 82 yards, I think it was.
Thing to note, we know Humphreys in the portal. He's not with Georgia's team. So unless Ellis Robinson would be someone over the next 3 weeks that emerges in a way that hasn't happened in practice so far this year. We've been told he's a good player, but
yeah,
they're going to be rocking. One thing though, Harris is big. He's a big, long
length.
guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 6'3", a lot of length.
So, like body wise, I think that's an asset.
Well, actually, a lot of that I think is going to depend on the matchup. Mm-hmm. Because if you play Indiana and they happen to win, Surratt for Indiana is a big physical receiver, 6'2", 6'3". They throw a lot of back shoulders too, so that will potentially be something that favors Harris. But this was another story of the game. Texas absolutely could not run the ball.
Well, I told you, Chaz just throwing his body at people.
I mean, whoop. Chaz, Brinson, like 65, by the way, did not have the center. Him and the right guard struggled, especially in run blocking. And it was a lot of just quick swim moves. And there's any consistency of the run game. And Jake Rowe was asking me from after the game, is it as simple like Georgia's ability to stop the run versus Texas versus compared to other teams? Is it as simple as the lack of a quarterback run threat? And it kind of is, because when you're Texas and all of your running game is predicated on misdirection and motions, and I'm going to turn, the quarterback's going to turn his back consistently, all those things, when that's the basis of your running game, Georgia just plays assignment football. And if the guy goes away from them, fine, somebody's going to come back to me. Like the motions don't affect them when the quarterback's not in a running threat, because they're not in conflict. They're just hanging out playing their assignment. And that, to me, plus I think Georgia's defensive line is just a little bit – Texas's offensive line is a better pass pro line than it is a run block line.
Yeah.
That's why they don't just – but I think if Texas were to play Georgia again, they've got to stop the misdirection game and just go quick hitters, downhill quickly, straight inside zone runs to do that.
Because I remember even thinking on the rewatch, Xavier McLeod popped to me of one of his best games at Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty much the entire defensive line played well.
Yes. Get close, and then we get Mr. Jackson being aggressive and making plays, which, by the way, Dan has quietly struggled and missed multiple tackles in 5 out of the last 6 games. But this is a big one. Because if he doesn't make the tackle, that's a much bigger play. You got linemen on secondary players set up pretty well. Quick screen, motion out, boom, get north-south. If that block is made, or if he doesn't come and be aggressively to that, you're in space. And Moore is a really good player with the ball in his hand. So, and by the way, that was after Georgia's horrible drive. So they take the first, the drive down and take the lead. And then the next one, they go negative like 20 yards, I think, because after the bad reverse to start the second drive. So Texas is kind of feeling like, okay, we can go take this game back. They had their one good drive. But sometimes, by the way, the quarterback just misses.
And this is one where I had wondered why Arch Manning didn't play more for the run threat. I see throws like this. I wonder why Quentin Ewers was in there. I mean, he had a solid game, and he hit some receivers.
It was actually his best passing grade, PFF passing grade, since Alabama last year.
I mean,
it's because of the deep balls. Like some of the when he scrambled right and hit Golden down the right sideline on over top of Harris. Some other deep balls that weren't caught the defender broke up really good throws, but this was just a miss.
I mean, am I
And by the
missing
way,
something? Is he throwing to a spot and a receiver went the wrong way, or is this just a critical miss?
I think he's semi just throwing to a spot, but it seemed to me the spot needed to be about 3 or 4 yards to the right or more up the field than it was angled like that. But Georgia does a good job, and Dan, by the way, gets one little bit of because Moore's in the backfield here. Like he's coming out from the backfield as a receiver, and Dan at the contact gets that one little hip hit where he puts his arm on his hip and slows him down a little bit. But even like Moore's route looks like it was going more towards like where the number 10 is. Yeah. And he throws it to the sideline.
All to say that when Texas struggled to run as much as it did, you can't have this kind of inaccuracy in passing, even a couple of times against the
team. It puts everything on him. And by the way, he's only had 2 games this season all year where he's been less than 60% completion. I think you can pick out the 2 games.
Probably the 2 losses.
Yeah, the 2 losses to Georgia.
3rd and 3.
This like different personnel, so they have 3 receivers on the field, but it's the same exact action, same exact. Because what they do with Moore, they fake the bubble and then he's blocking and then he comes off because Malachi jumped outside. In this instance, KJ comes down, boom, easy RPO, and then Dan just missed touchdown.
I would imagine, I mean, I'm looking at the stands there. You were in the building. It's mostly red and black. I would imagine Texas probably has much hope in this moment as at any point in the game because now you've tied it up and Georgia has a backup quarterback in.
That and then later in the game when it was 16-13 when it looked like they might be getting a touchdown.
Yeah.
Especially after the PI penalty. That was when the whole place was getting very nervous, at least from a thing. But Georgia still made plays late in the game.
Here's one of them.
This was a curious throw from Ewers. And it also kind of speaks to what happens when he's pressured a little bit, because this is like, look at the this is I'm going to get rid of it and please don't hit me kind of vibe that he's. Because watch after the throw. Just and you got to. I get you want to protect yourself, but it was just get rid of it quick. But also, this was the sort of odd mirror defense that we talked about consistently in the first game, where you bring 3, have the spies right there. One's on the back, one's on the QB. You're playing man under with 2 deep safeties, and this is like 3rd and 17, maybe, right? Something like that. And he's throwing this route. That to me, if he's going to throw that, I would have thrown that thing out of bounds. But this is a heck of a job by Everett, turning, finding the ball, and then the pressure causes. By the way, against pressure, Quinn was. Let's see, I wrote it down.
Safe to say that Dayne Everett loves playing Texas.
Yeah, 3 of 11 for 44 yards and the 2 interceptions when he was pressured.
All right, so now Georgia's up by 3, but you see where the ball is. Texas has 35 seconds, has 2 timeouts, 1st and 10. They can go win the game.
Much like the fake punt, this is one of those underrated, just humongous plays of the game. CJ Allen, because this is a fake the screen, quick game left, fake this quick game or screen right, and then leak the tight end up the middle of the field, and they cover it perfectly. And then you get the pressure. But boom, there, and because of what it's designed to do, you bring the pressure here, and you're like, look at him pointing out right in the beginning. Eyes on. Like, that's just when you as a defense for Georgia had to absolutely dial it in, because you can't give up a touchdown here, and basically the game's over. Perfection right here.
I'm a bit surprised Texas would call something that has Ewers back to the defense in this spot, but I understand what you're saying, that if CJ Allen doesn't do as good of a job here, it's pretty wide open for that tight end.
Yep.
I'm just with
I think that's probably a tape study thing based upon that area of the field that Texas likes to do.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
2nd and 15 after that.
Yeah. This is a heck of a job by Everett. because he wants to go outside and get a jump ball. And Quinn is throwing this no matter what, because this is look, and he doesn't even see the receiver, I think, until he's in his throwing motion.
So he's trying to go outside. Everett says no,
So
sir.
he's just holding the safety and then instantly throws. And then he sees that Wingo had to break inside because Everett didn't let him get to the outside, forces him back into Dan. Great job there. Turn and find it and then make that throw tough. That's a great job. Could he have put that thing low on a rope and maybe got a catch? Yes, but that's a heck of a job by Everett to play his responsibility, make it tough, make it a tight window throw in a critical situation.
I suspect Everett's putting that on his NFL highlight reel for draft time.
Many, yes. That and many from these two games.
It may just be a lot of Georgia and Texas on there.
I mean, why not, right?
So 3rd and 15. This felt like a concession to me.
I thought so too. I was shocked.
Like we're afraid to throw an interception or something. Like we want to make sure we preserve the field goal.
Which I mean, you get, but I'm also of the belief of in this situation, it shocked me that they did not throw a shot play against Harris on the far right.
Trying to attack.
I mean, I just thought they just to try to get an interference call.
Because
potentially,
I mean, that is the only route that you even look at and say they're trying to score.
I thought they would dial up some sort of shot play just to see if they could get an interference call because they still had a timeout too.
They kicked the field goal after this, and I was that seemed very un-Sark like to me.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but Georgia's defense against Texas has been excellent, almost as good as it's been against any team this year. The things that Ole Miss did against Georgia, Texas couldn't do. The things that Jalen Milroe did against Georgia, Texas couldn't do. The things that Georgia Tech did against Georgia, Texas couldn't do. And to me, that was the most if I'm a Texas fan, I would wonder why
Arch wasn't more part of what it is that they at least had some more bring him in a little bit here and there.
Look at the last month of Georgia. Haynes King from Georgia Tech roasted Georgia. UMass doing some quarterback run action. Georgia struggled with that. Even go back to, I mean, Van Buren at Mississippi State's not like a crazy big runner, but did a better job than anything Texas offered here. And those are some bad football teams that played Georgia better than Texas's offense has on 2 occasions.
Yep. And with the running game part of it, now granted sacks, when you look at the box score stuff, sacks come into play, but 55 attempts for 60 yards in 2 games. 2 games. That's unbelievable. Like I said, takes into account sacks, but still.
Unbelievable to me. The people who support our show, Breda Pest Management, the official pest control of the Georgia Bulldogs. They protect Sanford Stadium. They can protect your home as well. BredaPest.com. ASW Distillery. 5 of the 6 founders are UGA grads. They like to say they are distilled by dogs. If you buy Hunker Bourbon or Hunker Vodka, and if you want to know where you can buy those, they have a nice map on their website that can point you to the closest location to you that carries those products. They're getting around Georgia and beyond very quickly because ASW is good like that. And if you're out of state, you can actually use a service to order and get it sent to you. But anytime you purchase Hunker Bourbon or Hunker Vodka, portions of those proceeds go to Georgia's Classic City Collective, helping with Georgia's talent acquisition. When I am trying to acquire talent, it's usually for my grill, and Oconee Gold barbecue sauce helps me with that. Get some of the best flavors when I am grilling outside. Home tailgate, whether you're tailgating at a stadium, maybe you're taking your whole setup down to NOLA for a little New Year's action. I think Oconee Gold barbecue sauce would fit right in with some of those New Orleans flavors.
Very much so.
OconeeGoldBarbecueSauce.com. Film Don't Lie is the promo code that will get you 20% off. Georgia's defense going to be on a high after that, and Georgia's defense getting healthy may be one of the things that's scary for college football, Brent, because Smile Munden probably will be as healthy as we've seen him in a year and a half.
The entire team will be.
Yeah.
And and you also have that amount of time to prepare. Now, granted, you don't know your opponent until after next Friday or Saturday, whatever the Notre Dame Indiana game is, but you can obviously start preparing for both. But yeah, time to prepare, rest. They should be locked and loaded.
You didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I don't see much that Indiana has that can cause Georgia problems on defense. I know what it did first quarter against Ohio State. I just don't see a whole lot there. I think Georgia can lean on them.
Yes, over 4 quarters, yes, but I think the receivers are good enough and the QB is good enough to make some plays against them.
Okay. If it's Notre Dame,
but not over 4 quarters.
If it's Notre Dame, I like Riley Leonard a lot. And I like Notre Dame to be one of the teams in the country that can do some version of what Georgia Tech did to bother Georgia. We shall see.
Yep. I mean, the thing with it is how much of true third and long has, and I need to go look, have they existed in for Notre Dame this year? My doubt or my guess is it's very little.
If we do a Film Don't Lie preview of Notre Dame, because I think they will beat Indiana. I don't see a world where Indiana goes into South Bend and wins that game to further in the playoff. My second hot take is that the winner of Georgia Notre Dame will be in the national championship, because I like either of those teams against Penn State. Definitely like either of those teams against Boise State. That's for later prognostication. We have one more live Film Don't Lie video to get to, and that's why Georgia's offense in the first half wasn't as good. If you are new to us, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Georgia Bulldogs on YouTube. Georgia Bulldogs football from UGA Sports. We're the largest YouTube channel that covers Georgia, so make sure you subscribe to that. And if you're watching on Facebook, hit that like button, thumbs up. I don't know all the Facebook terms as well as I should. All I do know is that we're ending this Film Don't Lie.